The trading post was loud, dirty, and filled with creatures from many worlds. But on that cold evening, all the noise slowly died. Everyone turned their heads toward the metal cage being dragged across the floor. Inside that cage sat a thin alien girl with silver skin, tangled hair, and empty eyes. She did not fight. She did not cry. She only stared at the ground as if she already knew what her future would be. The sellers called her the outcast daughter, the child no one wanted, the cursed one. Some aliens stepped back when she passed, whispering that she carried bad luck, darkness, or danger. No one dared to touch her cage for long. A human widower named Elias stood near a corner, trying to sell old tools to earn a little money for the week. He had arrived only minutes earlier, but when he saw the girl being dragged, his eyes stayed fixed on her. Something about her silence poked a quiet place inside his heart, a place he had kept locked since the death of his wife. The sellers pushed the cage forward and shouted prices, but no one offered even a single coin. The crowd began laughing, calling her trash. Her shoulders tightened, but she made no sound. Elias noticed something strange on her collar, a metal band around her neck. Words were carved into it in an alien language, glowing faintly like old warnings. He leaned a little closer, trying to understand the symbols. The girl lifted her head for the first time, and their eyes met. Her gaze was soft but full of pain, like she was expecting him to look away just like everyone else. Elias didn't look away. Instead, he stepped forward. One of the sellers grinned, showing sharp teeth. "Human, you want this one? Cheap. She is nothing, useless." Another laughed. "Defective, cursed, even her own people threw her out." The girl shut her eyes, as if each word hit her like a stone. Elias felt anger rise inside him. Not at her, but at the way they spoke about her. It reminded him of how people had judged his wife in her final days. How cruel words could break someone already fragile. What did she do wrong? Elias asked calmly. The sellers shared a strange look. One shrugged. "She sees things. Bad things. Shadows. Our clan says keeping her brings disaster. So we removed her. Removed her like she was an object, not a living being." Elias felt his jaw tighten. Still, he didn't speak. His eyes stayed on the girl. He could see bruises on her wrists where chains had been too tight. He saw fear stitched into the way she breathed, slow and careful, like she was trying not to exist. The seller tapped the cage with a stick. "We can give her for almost nothing. You seem like a kind human. Maybe you can use her for cleaning," or Elias raised a hand. "Enough. Don't talk about her like she is not here." The entire trading post grew quiet. No one expected a human to defend an outcast alien. The girl's eyes opened again, this time wider. There was confusion in them, as if she had never heard someone speak for her. The seller hesitated. "You want to buy her?" Elias did not know the answer himself. He only knew one thing: he could not walk away. Something about the girl reminded him of the loneliness he carried every day, the same loneliness that had filled his house since his wife passed. The girl looked alone in a way that felt painfully familiar. He took a slow breath. "Yes," he said softly, "I will take her." A ripple of shock moved through the room. Some laughed, calling him foolish. Others whispered warnings. "Humans do not keep cursed ones. She will bring darkness to your home. She is trouble." Elias ignored them all. He paid the small price they asked and stepped toward the cage. The girl pushed herself into the corner, expecting a hit or a shout. Elias only knelt down and unlocked the door. "You're free to step out," he said gently. The girl stared at him like she did not understand the meaning of freedom. Her thin hands trembled as she slowly crawled forward. When her foot touched the floor outside the cage, the lights in the trading post flickered for a moment. A cold breeze swept through the room, even though no door was open. The crowd muttered nervously. The girl froze, terrified that Elias would now reject her like others did when strange things happened. But Elias simply placed his coat on her shoulders. "Let's go," he said. As they walked out, some creatures backed away to avoid touching her. Others whispered that the human would regret his choice. The girl kept her head down, too scared to speak. Elias looked at her silently, wondering what kind of life she must have lived to fear every breath. The night outside the trading post was colder than Elias expected. A sharp wind cut through the empty streets, carrying dust, smoke, and the faint smell of metal from the nearby factories. The alien girl walked beside him, small and silent, wrapped in his old coat. The coat was far too big for her, hanging like a blanket around her thin frame, but she clutched it tightly as if it was the only warmth she had ever known. She did not speak. She did not even look up. Every few steps, she flinched at distant. Noises: a passing hover cart, a barking machine dog, the crackling of neon lamps overhead. Elias slowed his pace, trying not to make sudden movements. He didn't want to scare her more than she already was. "You're safe now," he said quietly, not sure if she understood his words. She nodded once, but her shoulders stayed tight. Her steps were careful, almost too careful, like she was afraid the ground might explode if she walked too fast. Elias noticed she kept glancing behind her, as if she expected someone or something to be following. Once, she even grabbed his sleeve for a split second before pulling her hand away quickly, embarrassed. Elias didn't say anything. He only adjusted his steps so she stayed a little closer. As they reached the quieter part of the district, the lights grew dimmer and the sky above them filled with thick clouds. A low rumble of thunder echoed across the horizon. The girl stopped suddenly and stared up at the dark sky, her eyes wide with fear. "Storm?" Elias asked gently. She shook her head. "Not storm." Her voice was soft, shaky, as if unused. "Shadows move in storms." Elias frowned. He looked at the clouds but saw nothing unusual. Yet the way she said it, cold, serious, trembling, made the back of his neck prickle. He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "No shadows tonight, just clouds." She didn't argue, but she kept her eyes on the sky until they turned onto a street. Elias lived in a small, simple house on the edge of the human district. There was nothing special about it, just cracked bricks, an old wooden door, and 2 windows that always whistled in strong wind. But when the girl saw it, she stopped walking entirely. Elias didn't understand why until he noticed something in her expression: confusion. Pure, quiet confusion. "You can come inside," he said, motioning her toward the door. She stared at the house like it was a strange creature. Her people had never given her a home. She had lived in cages, tents, and cold storage rooms. A real house felt unreal. When she finally stepped in, she froze again. The warm air from inside touched her face, and her eyes slowly moved around the room. There were shelves with old books, photos of Elias with his late wife, a simple kitchen, a small sofa, and a lamp that glowed softly in the corner. She took a step forward, then stopped. She touched the edge of the table with her fingers, as if checking whether it was safe. Elias watched her quietly. To him, it was just a house. To her, it was something impossible. "You can sit," he said gently. She went to the sofa but didn't sit. Instead, she stood beside it, waiting for permission she didn't need. Elias nodded, and only then did she carefully lower herself onto the seat. The cushion sank slightly under her weight, surprising her. She ran her fingers across the fabric, her expression unreadable. Elias went to the kitchen and turned on the kettle. The soft whistle of steam filled the house. The girl jumped at the sound, her hands curling into fists. Elias lifted the kettle to show her. "Just water, no danger." She relaxed only a little. When he handed her a warm cup, she hesitated before taking it. Her hands shook so badly that Elias had to hold the cup with her for a moment. She slowly lifted it to her lips, sniffing it like a frightened animal. After one small sip, her eyes widened. It was sweet tea, something she had probably never tasted. "It's good," she whispered, Almost in disbelief. "Drink slowly," Elias said. "It's hot." For the first time, she looked at him directly. Her eyes were large, silver, and full of questions she couldn't put into words. The room felt quiet, warm, peaceful, but also heavy with something unspoken. Elias knew she had a story, a painful one, but he didn't want to force it out of her. Suddenly, a soft tapping echoed from the window. Tap, 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 tap. The girl's entire body stiffened. The cup almost slipped from her hands. Elias turned quickly, but there was nothing outside, only darkness and rain beginning to fall. "It's just the wind," he said. But the girl shook her head hard. "No, not wind." Her voice trembled with certainty. She stared at the window like she expected something to climb through it. Elias stepped closer to her. "You're safe now. Nothing can hurt you here." But she whispered something so soft he almost didn't hear it. "It followed me." Elias felt the room suddenly grow colder, and he did not know that this was only the beginning. The rain outside grew heavier, hitting the roof in hard, uneven beats. Elias closed the curtains, but the girl kept staring at the window with wide, frightened eyes. Her fingers tightened around the warm cup as if it was the only thing keeping her calm. Elias sat across from her, watching her carefully. "What followed you?" he asked softly. She didn't answer at first. Her breathing became shallow, like she was afraid her own words might invite something into the room. Finally she whispered, "The dark. It never leaves." Elias felt a coldness run through him, but he forced himself not to show fear. "There's nothing outside," he said. "Just rain." But the girl shook her head. "Shadows don't fear rain. They hide inside it." Her voice sounded too certain, too experienced. Elias realized she wasn't imagining things. She truly believed something dangerous was out there. He placed his tea down and stood. "Let me check the door." "You stay here." As he reached for the door, the girl suddenly gasped. "Don't open it." Elias stopped mid-step. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried a strange trembling energy that made his chest tighten. He slowly turned back toward her. "Why?" he asked carefully. She looked at the floor, her hair falling like a curtain over her face. "It stands at doors. It likes thresholds. It waits." Elias didn't open the door after that. Instead, he locked the extra bolt and came back to sit nearer to her. The lamp beside them flickered for a brief moment. Elias frowned and tapped it. It steadied, but the girl's eyes didn't leave the lamp. "It doesn't like light," she whispered. Then the room went silent again. After a long moment, Elias gently spoke. "You can tell me. What is following you?" The girl swallowed hard. She touched the glowing symbols on her collar, the ones Elias had noticed earlier. "My people marked me because of it. They said I brought it. They said I attracted the dark." Her voice broke. "They were wrong. It chose me." Elias leaned forward. "What chose you?" Before she could answer, a sound echoed from down the hallway. 3 slow taps. Tap, tap, tap. Elias's blood turned cold. The girl froze completely. Her cup slipped from her hands and rolled on the carpet, spilling tea. "No," she whispered, trembling uncontrollably. "It found me." Elias stood quickly and grabbed the nearest object, a metal lamp. He wasn't sure what he planned to do with it, but he held it like a weapon. He stepped into the hallway, every hair on his arms rising. The hallway was dark, except for a dim nightlight flickering on the far wall. He took one step forward. Tap. A soft knock on the wall. Right behind him. Elias spun around. Nothing, just the girl staring at him with terror-filled eyes. "Stay behind me," he said. She didn't move from the sofa. She sat frozen, whispering something under her breath, words in her alien language, sharp and shaking. Elias walked down the hallway. The shadows stretched long against the walls, darker than they should have been for a simple flickering light. He reached the end of the hall and stopped. There was nothing there, but the air felt wrong, heavy, cold, like someone invisible was standing right beside him. Breathing very slowly, Elias stepped backward. The nightlight flickered again, then went out. The hallway was swallowed in darkness. A soft, almost playful whisper brushed his ear. It was not human. Human. Elias stumbled back, heart pounding, and ran to switch on the main lights. The moment the light filled the hallway, the cold vanished. The air became normal again. He hurried back to the girl. She was curled tightly on the sofa, hands over her ears, shaking violently. It spoke. Elias whispered, sitting beside her. She nodded without lifting her head. It always speaks when it wants a new home. Elias felt a chill go down his spine. It wants this house? No. She finally looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly with fear. It wants you. Elias didn't flinch. He simply placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Listen to me. Whatever it is, it won't take you. Not while I'm here. Her lip trembled. They all said that. And they all left. I'm not them, Elias said firmly. The girl stared at him for a long moment, searching for a lie in his face. She found nothing. Slowly, her breathing softened. She leaned into his side, not fully, just enough for him to feel her weight. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone in the dark, but as the lamp flickered again, Elias realized something terrifying. The night had only begun. And the thing following her was now inside his home. The rain outside slowly faded, but the house did not feel any calmer. Elias sat beside the alien girl on the sofa, watching her trembling hands slowly loosen. Her eyes were still fixed on the dark hallway where the knocking had come from. Even with the lights on, she looked afraid of every shadow. Do you want water? Elias asked softly. She shook her head. It doesn't matter. The more I drink, the more it watches. Elias didn't understand. That only made him more determined to find answers. Then tell me, he said gently. What is it? Why does it follow you? She stayed silent for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the stillness. She held her breath as if fighting with herself, unsure whether she should speak or stay quiet. Finally, she wiped her eyes and whispered, If I tell you, you will send me away too. I won't, Elias said immediately. Her voice cracked. Everyone says that. Elias leaned closer. I'm not everyone. The girl lowered her head, her silver hair falling over her face. She took a slow breath. My people. They see the world with bright eyes. They see energy, life, colors humans can't see. But I see something different. She looked up. Her eyes glowed faintly like moonlit water. I see the dark. I see things that hide between worlds. Elias frowned gently. Between worlds? They exist in the empty spaces, she whispered. Spaces humans cannot feel. Spaces my people pretend don't exist. And when one of those creatures finds someone, it stays. It feeds, grows. Her hands clenched into fists. It found me when I was little. Elias felt a cold pressure in his chest. What does it feed on? Fear, she said softly. And loneliness. That explained her trembling. Her quietness. Her pain. And when people see the effects, she continued, her voice shaking, they blame the child. They say the child is cursed, marked. She touched her glowing collar. So they put warnings. So others stay away. Elias had noticed the strange symbols earlier. The writing on your collar. What does it say? She hesitated. It means do not keep her. Do not let her sleep in the dark. Elias looked at her with shock. Why not sleep in the dark? She swallowed. Because that's when it comes closest. When it tries to take me completely. Elias felt anger rise inside him, not at her, but at the people who abandoned her instead of helping her. Your people threw you away because they didn't understand. They were afraid, she said quietly. Fear makes people cruel. Elias nodded slowly. He knew that truth too well. The girl looked at him with watery eyes. You should let me go. If it takes me, that's fine. But if it wants you now. Her voice cracked. I don't want another person to get hurt because of me. Elias reached out and gently lifted her chin. Listen to me. You didn't bring this thing here. It chased you. You survived it. That makes you strong, not cursed. She blinked, stunned by his words. No one had ever spoken about her strength before. Only her fear. But before she could respond, the lamp flickered again twice. Then the ceiling creaked. Then a low, dragging sound echoed down the hallway. The girl's entire body stiffened. It's looking for a door. Elias stood quickly. What kind of door? A mind door, she whispered. A weak mind. A tired one. It looks for the softest place to enter. Elias suddenly understood. It's trying to enter mine? She nodded slowly. Why mine? Because humans feel loneliness. Very loudly. Her words hit him harder than he expected. Since his wife died, Elias's house had been empty. His heart had been even emptier. Maybe that emptiness was exactly the door the creature wanted. But the girl reached out and gripped his sleeve tightly. You must not listen to it. You must not answer. It whispers with the voices of the people you miss. Elias felt his breath stop. He knew exactly whose voice it would use. The dragging sound in the hallway grew louder. Like something was crawling along the floor. Elias stepped forward, positioning himself between the creature and the girl. You don't have to protect me, she whispered. Yes, Elias said firmly. I do. The dragging stopped. A whisper spread through the air, soft like breath, gentle like a memory. Elias. Elias froze. It was his wife's voice. The one he had not heard in years. His hands trembled, but he didn't move. He didn't answer. He didn't look back. The girl clutched his coat tighter. Don't listen, she whispered desperately. It's not her. It never is. Elias closed his eyes and breathed deeply. I know. The whispering faded when he refused to respond. The hallway fell silent again. The girl looked at him with awe. You fought it. All by yourself. Elias turned to her, his face pale but steady. You're not alone anymore. And I'm not leaving you. Her eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but relief. For the first time in her life, she felt believed. And for the first time in a long time, Elias felt brave. The house felt heavier than before, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Elias stood near the hallway, gripping the lamp tightly. The alien girl curled on the sofa was no longer crying, but she wasn't calm either. Her eyes kept darting around like she could see something he couldn't. And suddenly, the light bulb above them flickered once. Then again. Then it went completely dark. The girl gasped. No. No, no, no. Elias dropped the lamp and ran to the switch panel on the wall, flipping every switch. Nothing happened. The entire house was swallowed in thick darkness, heavier than normal night, almost alive. He could hear the girl's breathing change. It grew fast, desperate, like she was drowning in fear. Stay close. Elias shouted through the dark. He reached out and felt her cold hand grab his. Her grip was trembling but strong. For a moment, he felt her whole body shaking as she pressed herself against him, trying to disappear into his shadow. Don't let go, she begged. Her voice cracked. If you let go, it will take me. Elias squeezed her hand. I won't. The air around them grew colder. Much colder. Elias's breath turned white. The windows rattled without wind. Something creaked in the kitchen. Then something in the hallway dragged across the floor again slow. Scraping, hungry. Elias stepped back, pulling the girl with him. Stay behind me. The scraping stopped. Then another sound filled the darkness, a soft rhythm like tapping on the ceiling. Tap, tap, tap. The girl covered her ears. It's above us. It's crawling. Elias grabbed the small emergency flashlight from the drawer beside the sofa. When he switched it on, the beam of light shook in his trembling hand. The narrow cone of light revealed only a small part of the room, nothing unusual, only shadows. But the tapping didn't stop. It moved from the ceiling to the walls, then to the floor. Then, suddenly, something invisible slammed against the living room door, so hard that the wood cracked. The girl cried out and held onto Elias even tighter. It's angry. It wants to break inside. Elias stepped in front of her, flashlight shaking wildly as he aimed it toward the door. The beam caught a part of the wall, and for a split second, he saw long, thin, shadow-like fingers dragging across the wallpaper. They disappeared instantly when the light touched them. The girl gasped. It's looking for a way. A place where the light doesn't reach. Elias threw the flashlight beam around the room desperately. Every corner seemed too dark, too deep, too ready to hide something. Something growled low, like a whisper made of pain. The girl clutched his arm and whispered, "It's coming. It's close." Suddenly, the flashlight flickered, once, twice, no. The girl screamed. Not the light. Elias slammed the flashlight with his palm. The light steadied for 1 second, then it went out. The darkness swallowed them whole. The girl's scream tore through the room, but it wasn't just her scream. Another voice joined it, whispering her alien name, stretching it, twisting it, calling her toward the dark. She fell to her knees, shaking violently. It's inside my head. It's trying to pull me. Elias grabbed her shoulders. Look at me. Don't listen to it. But her eyes rolled back for a moment, and her body shook harder. It wants me. It wants my fear. Elias wrapped his arms around her tightly, fighting to keep her grounded. You're not going anywhere. You hear me? Her body jerked again, as if something was physically tugging her backward. Elias felt the pull too. It felt like cold hands trying to tear her away from him. No! He shouted, pulling her back with all his strength. A deep hiss echoed around the room. The temperature dropped even lower. Elias felt his fingers going numb, but he refused to let go. The girl's voice shook as she whispered, "It's choosing. It's choosing who to take. It wants the stronger fear." Elias felt the creature's presence shift toward him, like a cold breath on his neck, like fingers sliding through his thoughts, and slowly, a voice he knew, a voice he loved, a voice he had missed more than anything, whispered in the darkness, "Elias, why did you leave me?" Elias froze. His heart twisted painfully. It was his wife's voice, perfect, soft, exactly how he remembered. The girl cried harder. "It's lying. Don't listen." But the creature whispered again, closer this time. "Elias, come with me. Don't leave me alone." A cold wind wrapped around his shoulders. Elias felt something pull at him, not physically, but inside his mind. The girl grabbed his face with both hands suddenly. Her eyes glowed bright silver. "Look at me. Look at me only." Elias snapped back into the present. He held her tightly. The voice faded when he didn't answer. The creature hissed loudly. Angry, then it attacked. The girl screamed as a wave of freezing air slammed into both of them, throwing them backward into the sofa. Elias shielded her with his body. The lights in the kitchen sparked. The door cracked again. The walls groaned. The creature was not trying to scare them anymore. It was trying to break them. Elias held the girl close and whispered firmly, "You're not alone. And neither am I." Her hands clung to his shirt, and her glowing eyes brightened. For the first time, Elias saw something powerful inside her, not fear, but fire, and the creature sensed it too. Tonight, the dark did not face a weak, lonely girl. Tonight, it faced two lives fighting back together. The house shook as the invisible creature slammed against the walls again. But Elias refused to move from where he sat, holding the trembling alien girl close. Her small hands were buried in his shirt, gripping him as if he was the only solid thing left in a world falling apart. Outside, the storm roared louder. Inside, the darkness curled at their feet like a living shadow, searching for a way into one of their minds. But this time, Elias was not afraid. The girl gasped as another wave of cold air washed over them. Her body shook in a way Elias recognized not from fear alone, but from exhaustion. She was running out of strength. Her glowing eyes dimmed with every breath. "It's too strong," she whispered, voice weak. "It wants both of us now." Elias cupped her face gently. "Look at me." She slowly lifted her eyes. "You survived this thing alone for years," Elias said. "But now you're not alone. Not anymore." Tears formed in her eyes. "Why? Why would you risk yourself?" "I am nothing. I am not even wanted by my own people." "You're wrong," Elias said firmly. "You matter. You deserve safety. You deserve someone who doesn't run." The girl blinked. No one had ever said she deserved anything, but the creature wasn't waiting. A loud cracking noise echoed through the hall. The front door bent inward as if something massive was hitting it. The floorboards rattled. The ceiling groaned. Elias grabbed the emergency flashlight again and switched it on. The light flickered weakly but held. Immediately the darkness pulled back. Hissing silently, the girl stared at the flashlight like it was a miracle. Elias placed it gently in her hands. "You hold it. I'll protect you." She shook her head, terrified. "No. If the light goes out, it will take me first." "Then I'll keep it on," Elias said. Steady as a mountain. The creature let out a low, violent whisper from the hallway. The voice twisted, angry, no longer trying to deceive. It was hunting now. Elias stood up slowly, helping the girl stand beside him. "Stay behind me. Whatever happens, don't let the light fall." She held the flashlight to her chest. Shaking but determined, they stepped into the hallway together. The darkness there was thicker, almost like smoke, swirling slowly as if it had weight. When Elias shined the small flashlight forward, the beam hit something. A figure, tall, thin, made entirely of shadow. With long bent fingers dragging across the wall, the girl whimpered. "It's taking form. It's getting stronger." Elias felt fear twist inside him, but pushed it down. He stepped forward anyway. "This is my house," he said loudly. "You're not welcome here." The shadow paused, then tilted its head in a slow, unnatural way. A voice broke through the air, deep and hollow. "Human." The girl clutched Elias's sleeve. "Don't listen." But Elias stepped closer. "You can't have her." The shadow hissed, stretching like dark smoke. "She is mine. Fear is mine. Souls are mine. She belongs to the dark." "No," Elias said. "She belongs to herself." The girl stared at him. Breath caught in her throat. The creature lunged. Elias grabbed a metal pole from the wall, a broken curtain rod, and swung it through the darkness. It passed through the creature, but the shadow recoiled, as if stunned by the impact of simple human defiance. It tried again, swiping long shadow-like claws toward him. Elias dodged and stepped in front of the girl, blocking her with his body. "Why are you doing this?" She cried. "Because someone should have protected you long ago," Elias said. Teeth clenched. The creature screeched in anger and launched at them again. At that exact moment, the flashlight in her hands glowed brighter, much brighter. The girl gasped, feeling something inside her chest ignite. A warmth, a spark, a power she didn't know she had. Her eyes turned silver bright. The creature froze. Elias glanced at her. It's reacting to you. You're stronger than it. The girl shook her head. I'm not strong. I'm just scared. That's not weakness, Elias said. That's why it fears you. The creature twisted violently, trying to retreat. But Elias held the girl's hand and pushed the flashlight forward with her. A beam of pure, sharp light cut through the shadow's body, causing it to scream in a high, painful sound that shook the walls. The girl felt something shift in her chest, like all the fear she had carried for years was burning away. She stepped forward, her voice stronger than ever. You don't control me anymore. Her glowing eyes grew brighter. The creature shrank back. Elias tightened his grip on her shoulder. Together. She nodded. They pushed the flashlight forward one last time. The beam exploded in brightness. The shadow burst into thin, fading smoke, screaming, twisting, and then vanished completely. Silence fell. The lights flickered back on. The house felt warm again. The girl fell forward, but Elias caught her. She breathed heavily, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's gone, she whispered. It's finally gone. Elias held her close, his voice gentle. You're safe. You're not alone anymore. And for the first time in her entire life, she believed it. When the creature vanished, the house finally fell silent. No whispers. No cold wind. No tapping. The walls stopped shaking. The air returned to normal. And the darkness in the corners felt like simple shadows again, nothing more. For the first time since entering the human world, the alien girl could breathe without fear. Her legs grew weak, and she collapsed forward. But Elias caught her gently and lowered her to the sofa. Her chest rose and fell in quick breaths, each one trembling, carrying 10 years of fear leaving her body. Elias knelt beside her, brushing her tangled hair away from her face. It's over, he whispered. She stared up at him, eyes still glowing faintly but soft now, full of disbelief. How did you not run? Everyone else ran. Elias took a deep breath. Because I've run enough in my life, he said softly. I ran from pain, from memories, from loneliness. His voice cracked slightly. But I'm done running. The girl looked at him for a long moment, trying to understand his strength. You're not afraid anymore. I'm still afraid, Elias admitted, but I'm more afraid of losing someone who needs me. Her eyes widened. No one had ever said she was worth staying for. Slowly she sat up, clutching the flashlight. Even though the lights were back on, she held it like a symbol of survival. Elias gently took it from her trembling hands and placed it on the table. You held the light, he said. You fought back. I only did it because you were with me, she whispered. If I was alone, I would have lost. Elias shook his head. You're stronger than you think. She opened her mouth to argue, but closed it again. Deep inside her chest, something warm and unfamiliar grew hope. The storm outside calmed, leaving the house wrapped in quiet peace. Elias stood and walked to the kitchen. A moment later, he returned with a blanket. He placed it over her shoulders and sat across from her. What now? She asked in a small voice. Her fingers twisted the edge of the blanket nervously. Now that the dark is gone, do you still want me here? Elias blinked, surprised she even needed to ask. Of course I do. But I brought danger, she whispered. Trouble, fear. And you brought courage, Elias replied. You brought light into this house tonight. You showed me that I'm not the only broken one here. She lowered her head, a tear falling quietly. I don't know how to be part of a home. You'll learn, Elias said. With me. She looked up again, studying him carefully, as if trying to see whether he was lying. But Elias's eyes were honest, warm, steady, and full of a gentleness she had never known in her life. Her voice wavered. What if the dark comes back? Then we'll face it together. Together? Yes, Elias said. Together. For a moment, she didn't breathe. The word together felt too heavy, too precious. Slowly, she wrapped the blanket tighter around herself and whispered, "No one ever said that to me." Elias smiled softly. "Then it's about time someone did." The girl looked around the room, the warm lamp, the small kitchen, the shelves filled with old books, the photos of a woman she guessed was Elias's wife. She wondered if the wife would have liked her. She wondered if she deserved this place. Then she wondered something else. Could this be what a home feels like? Elias stood and offered his hand. "You should rest. You've been fighting for years." She hesitated, then placed her small hand in his. Her fingers were cold, but her pulse was strong. He led her to the spare bedroom, the one he used to keep closed because the memories hurt too much. Tonight, he opened it. The girl paused at the doorway. "May I sleep here?" "It's yours now," Elias said simply. She stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of old paint and dust, but it felt safe, warm. She touched the blanket on the bed and whispered, "Is this what comfort feels like?" "Yes," Elias said. She turned to him, her eyes shining not with fear this time, but with something new. Something bright. "Thank you, human," she said softly. "For staying." Elias nodded. "Good night." As he turned to leave, her voice stopped him. "Elias, yes?" She swallowed nervously. "What happened tonight?" "It changed everything. I don't feel like an outcast anymore." He smiled gently. "You're not." She gave a small, shy smile in return. "Then what am I?" Elias thought for a moment, then answered with warmth in his voice, "Your family." The girl covered her mouth as tears rolled down her cheeks again, but this time they were tears of relief. Not pain. Elias closed the door gently. And as she lay down on the soft bed, her first real bed, the girl realized something she never believed could be true. The night that tried to destroy her became the night she finally found a home. And for the first time in her life, she slept without fear.